Hey everybody, it's me, Dr. Fuck from Thrash or Die, with another exciting episode of Rock and Metal Combat Podcast with my buddies Ian and Terrence. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Rock and Metal Podcast. My name is Gary Udman.
All right, thank you there, Gary Oldman. All right, so this week we're gonna do something a little different this time. We're not gonna be talking literally about music. We're gonna talk about a cult classic movie that came out in 1979. Am I correct, guys?
Yes, you are.
Correct.
Okay. It came out in 1979. The movie's called Over the Edge. Now, before I get into it, I want you guys to discuss what the movie means to you, and then I'll ramble because I got a lot to say.
Go ahead,
Ian,
Terrence. Oh, me first?
No, you first.
Okay, let's see. The first time I saw this movie was 1984, and I totally identified with Ralph Macchio getting beat up, being the new kid in a new town, and the guy from Happy Days coming to, teach him how to get revenge. Wait, no, that's Karate Kid. No, okay. Over the Edge. Great movie. I first discovered early 80s on HBO. Just about a bunch of wild, rambunctious fucking hooligans who listen to good music. And that's why we're discussing on this rock and metal podcast, because this is a rock and roll fucking movie about some rock and roll kids on fucking drugs, listening to rock and roll and doing some rock and roll fucking vandalism. And this just enthralled me as a young child. It gives you that same tingle you get, when you break a window. You're just like, yeah! That's what this movie was. And I enjoyed it. I've seen it probably, I'd say, over 30 times. Probably more than that, but I suck at math. I discovered it in the early 80s on HBO. And Terrence, when did you discover this fine film?
All right, Over the Edge. How I discovered this movie, because after all, I am old enough to be both your dads, which actually I am your dad. Anyway, but enough of that.
That's another podcast.
Don't be mad at me because I went out to get that pack of smokes and never came back. The thing is that the very first time I heard about this movie was actually in a record store. I saw the soundtrack, which I have right in front of me. You guys can see it because we're on webcam. But I saw this in a record store, and if you look at the actual album cover, if anybody wants to Google it, there's a picture of Matt Dillon with some chick that chick's not in the movie. And then there's these other two here. These guys ain't in the movie. This kid's in the movie. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 kids on the album cover are not in the movie, and 3 are. Weird, huh? And I saw the track listing, and I said, boy, I have to buy this fucking album. And here's the track listing on the soundtrack. Starting off with Surrender, Cheap Trick, My Best Friend's Girl, The Cars, You Really Got Me, Van Halen, Speak Now, Forever Hold Your Peace, Cheap Trick, Come On, Part 1, Jimi Hendrix, and then side 2, Just What I Needed by The Cars, Hello There, Cheap Trick, Teenage Lobotomy, The Ramones, Down, Cheap Trick, All That You Dream, Little Feat, and Ooh Child, Valerie Carter. Now, here's something odd. I didn't tell you guys this. We were supposed to do this podcast last week on Sunday, and I work a night shift, so I get off at 7 in the morning, and I went to a grocery store at 7 a.m. to buy some milk, and when I walked in, I shit you not, they were playing Ooh Child on the speakers, it's a big grocery store type thing. And how odd. I was like, wow, man, I haven't heard this song forever. And I walk into the store and they're playing it. And today we're going to do Over the Edge, which ended up not happening. Over the Edge, I bought this album, and me and my friend were always curious about this movie because we never saw it. It wasn't shown in theaters, and if it was a limited run that we didn't see it till I think it had to be like maybe 2 to 3 years later. My buddy called me telling me, "Hey, they're going to show Over the Edge on HBO at like 2 in the morning," and I had school the next day, but I set my VHS. I was one of the first guys that had a video VHS back in the day. And I set it up, and I recorded it, and then I couldn't wait to get home from school and watch it. And when I did, I was just blown away how great this movie was. Now, keep in mind, I was a young kid back then, not the nicest kid. I mean, as far as I always was getting into trouble, I was kind of like a delinquent. I even spent a little time in juvie, but that's a whole different story. And I loved this movie because it was a bunch of rebellion kids saying "fuck you" to their parents, "fuck you" to authority, and getting fucked up, drunk and high, and acid and liquor and weed. And I'm just looking at this shit, and I'm like, that's me, man. That's pretty much how I was back then. And I loved it. I identified so much with it, and my parents were a pain in the ass. And it was like, this movie speaks to me in volumes. But now, as an adult, which I don't really feel like I'm mature, I am pretty immature for my age. But looking at this movie now, I'm like, all the kids in this movie should have been smacked around much more than Carl was by his dad. They should have just been abused for being little drug addict fuckheads that went and vandalized the school. Which, as a kid I loved it, but as I matured looking back on it, these kids were living in middle-class homes. They were taken care of. Their parents were just trying to better their lives, better their community, make a nice place for them to live. And these kids rebelled and were fuck-ups, And also, the killing of Richie White, which when I was a kid, I was like, fuck that Officer Doberman guy that killed Richie White. Richie White pulled out a fucking gun, okay? So, of course, the guy shot him in self-defense. But the movie kind of like, in a way, is like against this poor guy, this cop that's just, okay, he's kind of a cocksucker, yeah, but, the guy pulled a gun out on him. What do you want him to do, get shot? So, yeah, I think Richie White deserved the bullet.
All right, well, thanks for telling me how it fucking ends, Ralph. I love this movie. When I first saw it, I was like 7, 8 years old. So I thought these were like big kids, But watching it now, I'm like, fuck, these motherfuckers are in junior high. These are some little fucking brats. But it was cool. It was like kids against the fucking adults, and the kids kick some fucking ass. And they listen to good music. And they do drugs. And I didn't even get the drug references at the time, but I knew they were doing something they weren't supposed to. But it was a kick-ass fucking movie. Matt Dillon, by that time I'd already seen, like Outsiders and shit like that. But
My Bodyguard.
Yeah, My Bodyguard. Another great movie, My Bodyguard. But, it was just, it was cool, and it was rock and roll. I mean, it had just kick-ass fucking music in it. Even though that wasn't exactly what I was listening to at the time, it fit the whole attitude of the movie, and I never missed it when it was on. I couldn't turn it off, and that's why I've seen it so many times.
You bring up a couple interesting points, Terrence, that I want to touch upon. Number one, when you said that you have kind of like the mind of a child. I see you more, maybe 17, 18, mine, where I'm more like 12 and Ian's like 2. And another thing I'll bring up is you've been sober all your life. You haven't done drugs and you haven't drank, which is very commendable. And I applaud that. That's really cool, man. That is awesome. But I also got to tell you, you missed out on some good shit. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah!
I was young. And now I'm completely sober and I don't do drugs. And I'm not looking down on you, Terrence. I wish I did have a more respectable, I had more respect for my family, which now looking back on, they were right. I was wrong. and they just wanted the best for me, but I was too stoned to realize this. I was too drunk. I was too fucked up, but at the same time, those were some great fucking times I had getting fucked up and shit. But I say everybody, it's okay to get fucked up on drugs and drink, just as long as you do it moderately and you eventually stop, which unfortunately Ian's still a lush.
No! Yeah!
You know, what do you call it? His liver must be the size of a fucking, like a peanut.
Oh my God.
And, but, you know, I'm completely sober and I don't smoke pot. I don't do anything. And I think if I continue this route, eventually I will murder somebody. That's just how I feel. And so, I mean, touching upon that, let me get into, I actually sat down and watched this movie with the commentary. So I want to bring up some little facts about the movies that I don't know if you guys are aware of. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. Or our listeners, maybe they're not aware of this. New Granada is actually a fictional town. It was like something they made up for the movie. This movie was filmed 10 miles away from Columbine. The beginning scene, you know the scene where the two kids are on the bridge and they shoot like that cop car? That was Vincent Spano. Spano, am I pronouncing his name right? Spano. He actually went on to do other movies. And the guy with him, that was James Hetfield from Metallica. I don't know
No way.
This. Just kidding. He just looked just like James, didn't he? That guy looked exactly like a young James Hetfield.
All right!
And, okay, and Matt Dillon, oddly enough, how they found him for the movie, he didn't audition or anything. They actually went to a high school looking for kids for the movie. And while they were there, Matt Dillon was kicked out of the boys' room for smoking. And, you know, this happened while this crew was there, and they saw that happen, and they grabbed him, and they auditioned him, and he got the role. And this guy wasn't even an actor or anything. And look, he's the one that went on to do most out of everybody. But he was just, if he wasn't smoking in the bathroom that day at school, there might have never been a Matt Dillon. The original name of the movie was called On the Edge because of the movie, the album Bruce Springsteen did called Darkness on the Edge of Town. But they ended up changing it to Over the Edge. A lot of the kids in the school, like they went to the schools to audition kids, and the school would bring them all these like actor type kids, but they didn't want them. They wanted the burnouts that were outside behind the bleachers smoking pot, and that's actually who they hired for the movie. So a lot of the kids you see that didn't have speaking roles were actually burnouts from schools in Colorado. Also, thing I want to bring up is in Carl's room, that Kick-Ass Power Age AC/DC poster. Just thought I'd bring that up because it's so kick-ass. And his room period had Gene Simmons poster, and I think Led Zeppelin was in there. I can't remember.
I think Pink Floyd was too.
Yeah.
Kiss, man. Kiss sucks, man.
Yeah, and Michael Kramer, who played Carl, did a couple movies after that, but now he's a sports writer. Well, he doesn't act anymore. And yeah, this movie, when it was originally released, limited run, because at the time when this movie was released, there was a lot of violence going on in theaters with movies like The Warriors, and there was a couple other movies. So they didn't really this wasn't really in the theater that long. It became more of a cult thing on HBO. The redhead in the movie, which by the way looks pretty much the same, because if you go on YouTube, they have like kind of like a reunion. There's Carl that looks nothing like him. The burnout kid, I forgot his name, the one that does acid, and the redhead. Yeah, the redhead is up on stage, and they said that she was the one that suggested Cheap Trick for the movie. And like I said, that's pretty much it. So I don't know if you guys have anything else to add about Over the Edge. I just want to say that I highly recommend it if you haven't seen it. And well, you know, let's talk about other movies, but now let's have a closing segment with Over the Edge. Any closing things, guys?
Yeah,
Ian, you first.
I'd like to say I didn't want to bring this up till I heard your guys' review, you know, because I'm a little biased because I'm actually in the movie. but I didn't want to let you guys know that, because I didn't want to hinder your review. But the night scene at the rec center, there's a kid laying on the monkey bars going, I need some beer. That's me.
I remember that kid.
And they wouldn't show my face because at the time this was made, it came out in 79, but it was actually made in 78. I was 4. So they kind of frowned upon a 4-year-old, being fucked up on Old English 800.
Man, your mom must have had a real painful birth when you were born. You were pretty big for 4, man.
Yeah.
You were like 6 foot at 4 years old.
I know.
That's amazing, Ian.
And I'm taller on my back, too. Yeah, it hurt.
I think you've shrunk, man.
Yeah. So, it was my first acting job. They just said, hey, if you can't act, just be natural. So I was like, yeah, give us some beer, man. I
actually, look, I didn't mean to bring this up, but I actually did know this because I'm personal friends with the director. And he said that scene when you said, I need some beer, that wasn't in the script. You really wanted some beer. At 4 years old, you're there asking people for beer, and they decided to keep it in.
Well, when you're on a movie set, there's a lot of just sit there and wait, like, okay, and like, they're like, hey, you just be kid laying on the monkey bar. Like, hey, fuck this shit. How many times are we going to take this scene? I need a goddamn beer. So,
guys, you're gonna kill me, man.
And you should have seen the original script. In the original script, there's a lot of what's in there now, but then to try to make it more kid friendly, there was a whole subplot about a robot that just wanted to be human, which actually turned into Short Circuit. But that ended up getting cut out, because we didn't have the budget for the effects. But I had more scenes with Johnny Five that were edited out when they abandoned that storyline.
Oh my God!
This is a great rock and roll movie that I suggest to any child of the 70s or 80s or any child period. If you're just fucking rebellious and want to hear some good fucking rock and roll and just the whole fucking anti-establishment vibe of this movie. I love the end where they fucking trap the parents in there. I think it's fucking great. I'm glad my kid didn't do that. But I wanted to do that when I was a fucking kid. That would have been awesome. It's a great coming-of-age tale, and anytime I watch it, I feel like I'm 4 years old on monkey bars begging for beer again. And, I can't recommend it enough. You can, I don't know if is it still in print on DVD?
I don't know. I know it's not on Blu-ray.
Yeah, it's not on Blu-ray yet, but, if you can find a DVD copy, check it out. If not, send me a message, and I'll make sure anybody gets a copy of this that wants it, because this needs to be seen. And I'm even going to do another, commentary for it where I go more to the Short Circuit subplot. But that's going to cost extra. But
all right, so that's our. I have nothing more to add. I mean, another thing is that this movie was based on a true story, except for the the whole vandalism part at the end. I don't think happened, but I think there was a lot of similar things that did happen, and this movie. So that's our discussion on Over the Edge.
Now, hold on. I'm sorry. I just wanted to mention, in case there's any of our listeners out there who haven't seen it, like Terrence and Ralph said, Matt Dillon gets shot. Okay, not to give away any plot points. Matt Dillon gets shot dead in the end. Not to give it away. But
3/4 of the way through.
But he dies.
All right, well, here's something interesting about the movie. He gets shot and killed, right? But Matt Dillon does show up at the very end of the movie for a second.
Scene.
The vandalism scene, he does show up. So is he really dead?
No, I think it's like the end of Jedi, where he's just like a ghost, punk kid. Like
riding a bike?
They're in spirit. No. That's another kid riding Richie's bike.
No, it's another kid riding Richie's bike, but then there's a scene where Carl looks at the kid, and when the kid turns around and looks at Carl, it's Matt Dillon. So the first time you see the kid on the bike,
that's the drugs though. That's the drugs kicking in. I've seen a lot of fucked up shit on drugs personally.
Yeah, you see, I didn't think of that, Ian. Thank you for your drunken wisdom.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, we're gonna do two things now. We're gonna talk about our top 5 movies, and then we're gonna bring up a movie that maybe people don't know about, very unpopular. Not a lot of people know about it. Recommend a movie that nobody knows about. Do you guys have movies that nobody knows about you'd like to recommend?
Yes.
Okay, Ian?
Yes.
All right. One I absolutely love that might be very hard to find is called National Lampoon's Class Reunion. It was the first National Lampoon movie after Animal House and was expected to be a big hit, and it was a total fucking flop. And I don't get it because I think it is absolutely fucking hilarious. Okay, they're trying to mix the slasher genre in with with comedy. John Hughes wrote it, and I think it was absolutely hilarious. And anybody, if you can get your hands on National Lampoon's Class Reunion, please check it out. What do you think, Ralph? Give us a lost classic.
Well, geez, man, I have so many of them that it's not just limited to one. One, I gotta say, this one, not a lot of people know. This one's really rare. That if anybody knows this movie, you're gonna. I mean, I applaud you because this is super rare. It's a movie called Death Row Game Show, and it's exactly what the title means. Of course, it's a dark comedy. It's a game show where they get death row inmates to play these games that, if you win, you get out of jail. If you lose, you die. And it was the hardest thing to obtain on DVD, which they finally did release it on DVD as a double feature of another movie called Death of the President or some shit like that, like starring William Shatner, which I have yet to watch. But I highly recommend Death Row Game Show. That to me is very obscure. Now, other ones that I want to bring up that may not be obscure to a lot of people, but it's really good. It's not that popular either. I don't know if either of you guys seen this movie. It's called Jekyll and Hyde Together Again.
Love it.
Never seen it.
Love it.
Oh my God, that movie's hysterical.
And I'm going to warn people right now, please do not buy it on Blu-ray because I have it on Blu-ray. It's a double feature with dead bodies.
I have it.
The Blu-ray looks worse than the fucking VHS and the fucking DVD.
Yeah.
So don't be suckered in because I was highly disappointed. But Ralph, Jekyll and Hyde Together Again is a great drug rock and roll comedy, and I love it.
Yeah, highly recommend that movie. One of the funniest movies ever made. Now, my third pick, which is not really as obscure, they actually remade it, and it's probably the worst remake ever. But the original Death Race 2000.
Love it.
That movie was a big myth when I was a little kid in the 70s. Everybody would tell me about this movie, about people that that run people over and they get points. And I've been dying to see that movie. Where I finally saw it on TV. They actually showed it on TV. And, it was one of those local stations. They showed it one night, and it was really funny. Remember, I don't know if they do this anymore, but remember back in the day when you used to watch a TV show, and all of a sudden the little icon for that TV station would pop up on the side of the screen. Remember that? It would say, you're watching, this one was Channel 51. It's you're watching Channel 51. Well, what was so cool about this, and I still have the VHS copy, there's a scene in Death Race 2000 where the chick takes off her clothes and her tits are showing. And this is the 80s, dude, and they're showing nudity on TV. And right when they do that, the little 51 thing pops up on the little side of the screen. I was like, wow, man, this is awesome. And I still have that. So those 3 movies I highly recommend. Death Race 2000, starring David Carradine and a very young, pre-Rocky Sylvester Stallone. Jekyll and Hyde Together Again, wacky-ass drug humor, crazy comedy. And what was the first one I said?
The Running Man.
No, Death Race 2000. I mean,
the game show.
Death Row Game Show. Yeah,
Death Row Game Show.
2 of my movies have the word death in it. Oh, and another one. One more. And actually, I'm giving you a little spoiler of my top 5 because it is one of my top 5 movies of all time, and it's kind of obscure unless if you live in France or Winnipeg, Canada, where it's a huge hit over there. But everywhere else, it didn't really do too well. But it is a cult classic. It's called Phantom of the Paradise, which was Brian De Palma's very first movie. It's a rock opera. It's like Phantom of the Opera meets Faust. And it's an amazing soundtrack. I saw that movie when it came out in the theater. It only lasted 1 week in the theater. I saw it at 9 years old when it first was shown. Very impressionable on me. Then I bought it, the soundtrack, which I still own to this day, on vinyl. And then I didn't see it till MTV actually showed it. 1983, maybe, like really early MTV. They actually showed it. So from 1974 all the way to 1983 or 82, I didn't see that movie ever again until they showed it on MTV. And I love it. It's very sentimental to me. Some of you may think it's like cheesy. So I do recommend it to people. I mean, I showed it to this girl that I was banging. She's only 24. She was 21 years old when I showed her the movie. And now she's 24. And last year, right here on South Beach, she got the Death Records tattoo on her arm, which is the label of the movie. Death Records.
She also got the clap.
Yeah, but that wasn't from me. Okay, I gave her the herps. As far as top 5 goes, I haven't compiled the list. So while you guys talk about your top 5, let me write down 5 of my favorite movies and put them in order.
Ian, you first.
All right. Number 1, Jaws. Greatest movie ever fucking made.
What? Are you fucking kidding me?
No, Jaws 1. Jaws
okay,
1.
all right. I'll have something to say about that when it's my turn.
Yeah. Okay, when it's your turn. Jaws 1. Number 2, Godfather 1. Number 3, Godfather 2. Number 4, Apocalypse Now. Number 5, Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park. Oh, laugh it up, Fuzzball. Laugh it up. But some of the best work Abner Devereaux, a.k.a. Anthony Zebra's ever done.
No, actually, hey, all kidding aside, that was a great actor, that guy that did Devereaux.
Yeah.
He was in the middle of this clusterfuck. It's like, how did this good actor get in this movie?
Hey, bring up the elevator mechanism.
Hey, let me ask you, Ian, maybe you can help me on this. I read or I heard somewhere that guy that played the owner of the park, you know, the guy that fired Devereaux,
right?
He's in Godfather 2.
Yes.
Where?
When the guy gets strangled in the fuck bar in 2.
Right.
Yeah. He walks in that scene. I think he's the cop.
He's the cop?
Yeah.
Oh shit! I got to look at it again. You know that they actually asked him to be in Godfather 1, and he turned it down.
Mm-hmm.
For Kiss Me the Phantom. No,
exactly.
No,
well, I mean, he knew where his bread was buttered. You know, it's like, hey, yeah, Kiss is a big band. I never heard of this Francis Ford motherfucker. You know.
All right, Ian. Thank you for your top 5. All right, this is a tough one. I wish I would have done a little more homework on this because I know I'm probably going to leave one of my favorites off, and probably like one I'm going to leave off. I probably like more than some of my top 5, but off the top of my head, I just wrote it down here. Number 5, I discussed earlier, Phantom of the Paradise, definitely up there, number 5, and probably my favorite soundtrack to any movie where they actually use original music for the movie.
Over Grease?
You know what? I love Grease. I'm sorry. I love Grease because of nostalgic reasons, but I thought Grease was a great fucking movie. But then again, I like cock. All right, so then number 4, I would have to say a brilliant comedy. I just love the hell out of it. Is the Blues Brothers.
Awesome.
And mainly because of how everything around them is falling apart. Like a good scene is like when they're in bed and Carrie Fisher blows up the building and they come out of the rubble like nothing happened. Like, we're late. Let's go. I mean, shit like that just kills me. So, yeah, the Blues Brothers is definitely up there. Number 3, to me, is the funniest movie ever made, by far, is Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke. The scene when they're in the car in the beginning with the, are we smoking dog shit? Just is the most hilarious. It's like, it's so fucking epic how it starts and how it ends and everything in between with the mellow. What are you doing, man? Hey, don't take those, man. You just ate the most acid. It's just so many killer lines. I adore Up in Smoke. Now, my top 2 really upsets me. And you know why, Ian. Number 2, it's a tie. Godfather 1 and 2. I cannot tell you which ones I like more. Because I think they're both equal and kick-ass in their own way. Robert De Niro is a fucking god. And yeah, Taxi Driver didn't make my top 5. But again, one of my favorite movies. And Clockwork Orange is another one of my favorites that didn't make my top 5. But the 2 Godfathers, I mean, what can you say? To me, it's just fucking perfection. And I can watch those movies anytime and never get bored of it. Scarface 2, I would have to, say, God, that's a shame didn't make my top 5. Number 1, you motherfucker, is Jaws. And I'll explain to you why, how Jaws is so special to me. When I was a little kid, I was dragged to the movies to see this movie. And it affected me so much that I remember laying in bed after watching that movie, thinking, when it finally dawned on me at, what was I, like 6 years old or something? It finally dawned on me that we're going to die because of Alex that got eaten by the shark. I was like, wow, we're going to die. That's when it finally dawned on me. Now, as I've gotten older, my all-time favorite scene of any movie ever made was Robert Shaw's Indianapolis speech, which I actually took that speech and wrote lyrics around it for the Thrash or Die song called Rip to Pieces, where actually it's the Indianapolis speech put to rhymes. But if you listen to those lyrics, sometimes the sharks go away, sometimes they don't go away. All that shit I wrote in those lyrics. Robert Shaw, to me, was a god, was like the most amazing actor ever. I just loved him, and really crazy to know that guy was British. I mean, he really hid that accent well. And Jaws, by far my favorite damn movie of any movie ever made. And I know I'm leaving a lot out, but
it's glad to see you have some taste, Ralph. I like that.
Goodfellas 2 is another one that I can never get bored of watching.
Me too.
There's just so many movies that, Taxi Driver, Clockwork Orange. What else is there?
The Untouchables.
The Untouchables was good.
I'm smart. I can do things. Not like everybody says. I'm smart.
That's
Godfather 2.
That's right. That's Fredo.
Goddamn right it's Fredo.
Yeah, in Cuba.
That's the way Pop wanted it. It's not the way I wanted it.
How about the scene where his dad's laying on the ground after getting shot? He's like, Papa!
Papa!
Papa! I love the 2 Godfather movies. Number 3, actually, I saw it in the theater and I fucking hated it. But I watched it not too long ago and it's still kind of sucky, but it's not as bad as I remembered it.
It's better than most movies, but compared to the first 2, it sucks. It was haphazardly thrown together.
And that actress was horrible. The daughter or the niece.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Niece.
But still, the story wasn't there either. The story, it was.
Yeah, Michael dealing with the grief of killing his brother. And
fuck it. The first 2 are perfect. Fuck it. We're lucky we have any listeners by the end of this episode because this is so far away from where we started. But I hope everybody's enjoyed this.
No, I think people are gravitating to this one. This one's an interesting show. Another one I left off was Empire Strikes Back. I'm a fanatical Star Wars fan of the first 3, the 70s 3, and Empire Strikes Back by far my favorite. Another
I concur.
Movie. And I like the Indiana Jones movies and Blade Runner was good, and I know.
My number. If it was the top 6, I would have picked the 1986 classic Trick or Treat.
Oh,
I love Trick or Treat.
Which the next Thrash or Die album will have a song
About Sammy Kerr?
It's about the movie. It's called Music in the Key of Death. No, it's called In the Key of Death. That's the name of the song. And we want to start it with a soundbite of the movie where he goes, "No wimps, no false metal," and then the chorus is like, the chorus goes, "You can't bring me down." What does he say when he's in court? I forgot how he said it. "You can't bring me down."
Or we will bring you down, man. We will bring you down.
That's how our chorus goes. "We will bring you down." We say that in the chorus. There's a lot of things we say. We say Metal Machine 6-6 Crush.
The greatest line ever. Do you think I'm a wussy? Do you think I'm a sissy fucking weak tit? I mean, that you can't write that.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, where the guy from fucking Desperate Housewives is throwing wrenches at him in the room.
Wow.
And, it's fucking.
Yeah, we mentioned Metal Machine 6-6 Crush in the song too.
6-6 Crush.
Metal Machine 6-6 Crush. That's a killer song we got, man, for the next album.
excellent.
Yeah. That okay. Before we go, is there any? What would you consider the worst movie you ever saw in your life?
You guys go first. Let me think about this.
Okay. If you can't think of anything, Ian, I can go right ahead.
Go ahead, Ralph.
All right. It's kind of a toss-up. I'm not even sure the name of the movie was so bad. I think, I could be wrong, I think it was called Envy. And it had Jack Black and Ben Stiller. And it was
Envy.
That was the movie where they made shit disappear with a spray.
Yeah, well, okay. I didn't see it, but I know what you're talking about.
Okay, that was by far like the worst movie I ever saw. But runner-up would be Dee Snider's Strangeland.
Really?
Oh my God, that movie's fucking horrible.
I liked it.
Oh God.
I mean, I know it's terrible, but
no. How can Jaws be your favorite movie and like that fucking movie, dude? I saw that in a goddamn theater, and I'm watching it. I'm watching it, right, and then. Like I'm dealing with it, and I'm like, wow, this is pretty terrible. And then the scene where Dee Snider's like got lynched, and then a fucking lightning bolt came and hit him, and he fell on the ground. And he looked up and he goes, "What a rush!" Oh my God, I almost walked out of the theater. Now I also may add that Dee Snider to me is one of my biggest influences, and he to me is like one of the greatest frontman and a hysterical guy and a great guy. I met him. But
and I listen to House of Hair 3 times a week. True story.
Okay, well, Strangeland, horrible fucking movie. Those are my 2 that I can think of. All right, you guys.
Worst movie I ever saw was Amadeus, because I thought it was about Falco. And I was a huge Falco fan. I was like, I want to see a movie about a German rapper, you know? And then I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? People are wearing fucking wigs. I'm like, Amadeus is the worst documentary about a German rap star I've ever fucking seen.
So, Ian, in other words, to you, Amadeus was more like Amadeus.
Yeah. I'm not a homophobe like you homos, but that shit was terrible.
I'm a self-hating homophobe.
Exactly.
Me too.
I love the cock, and I hate homos. I can never get a date because I hate fags, but I'm a fag.
Like I said, I'm not gay, but the guy I'm fucking is totally gay. That dude loves the cock. But me myself, you know. But
you know how you can tell if a guy's gay or not?
No.
You bend him over, right? You fuck him. You reach around. If his cock is hard, he's gay.
It's only gay if you look down.
Yeah. All right, guys. So this was a great at the movies type. I enjoyed this one. I think we should do more in the future.
I forgot we were talking about Over the Edge. Oh, did we forget to mention that fucking Matt Dillon gets killed?
So does Doberman.
Oh, another spoiler. Thanks, Terrence.
Yeah, and they all go to juvenile at the end.
All right. Well, next week we're gonna return with some fucking music, and we're gonna see what kind of reviews we get on this episode. We might come back to movies. We might not. We definitely won't review an Amadeus. That's for goddamn sure. Or Strangeland, I guess now. But
Or Natural Born Killers.
We could. I mean, I hate the fucking movie. It'd be interesting.
I want to thank everybody for listening. Thanks for subscribing to the YouTube channel, for podbean.com. And hopefully by the time this airing, we are on YouTube. If not, fuck YouTube.
iTunes.
iTunes, yeah. I'm drunk as a motherfucker.
Yeah. And I would like to apologize for being a moron. All right, so everybody out there, we will see you next time, and we will be talking about the tunes. Later.